While exploring the city of Fallbrook, you may stumble upon a man inside one of the sublight offices named Nelson Mayson.
Take a gander at that mug. I ain't ever seen someone so adept looking my whole life. You don't seem like the usual pigeons we pluck. No offense, of course, if you are a Byzantium Goldblood. Say, I'd like to do you a favor. Might I interest you in a surefire scheme? Wink, wink.
Yeah, why not? You don't seem sketchy at all. This ought to be good.
Oh, I enjoy a good challenge. I'll get right to it then. Pure and simple, it's like this. I run our drug delivery service. Recently, I had the genius idea to cut costs in half by swapping our autoloaders with faster, cheaper sprats.
Using sprats to carry your drugs instead of, perfectly good technology? Why, that's a stroke of sheer brilliance.
See? I know a fellow genius when I clap eyes on him. Too right you are. Only problem is my sprat carriers ain't arrived from their latest run. As I was saying, you look more capable than most of the hoople heads around these parts. What say you locate him and retrieve the goods for me? In return, I'll cut you 5% of the profit.
Maybe. But before I agree to this, I do have a few questions for you.
Hit me. I won't even hit back.
Now, hilariously, we're given the option to punch Nelson in the eye. Naturally, I had to do it.
Ow! What was that for?
You told me to hit you, right? You said hit me, so I did.
You're nuttier than Miss Malin. Cripes. Remind me never to cross you. Though, you put that mean right hook to good use getting my drugs, and I'll be more than happy.
In all seriousness, what do you do around here exactly?
Officially, I keep the books for Miss Malin, provide loans to the Byzantium Goldbloods for gaming, and oversee our drug-running operations. Speaking of, might I interest you in a purchase? I'll give you a first-time discount. That's 5% off and a free drink at the ante-up. You're welcome.
Sure. Why not?
A shrewd decision. Here's your starter pack and your drink voucher.
And if we choose this dialogue option, we're actually given some ambidextrin and a voucher for a free drink. Not bad, not bad. Nelson, you mentioned that you work for Catherine Malin. Between you and me, do you have any dirt on her?
Miss Catherine Malin is one tough lady. Show her a bit of backbone and I swear she'll like you more for it.
Now that you mention it, it does seem like Catherine responds well to more aggressive dialogue. When we first met Catherine in our last episode, the very first thing we said was a witty, sarcastic remark. We said, "Oh yeah, you're real friendly," which Catherine almost seemed to respect.
I do so try. Might try more for you. 'Cause I like interesting folks.
From that point forward, she was pretty nice.
The VIP room's charged by the night. But for you, I'll make it a one-time fee.
It seems like Nelson here is the same way. He respects when we show some backbone. I mean, for God's sakes, we just punched him in the eye, and he complimented us for having a mean right hook. I think I might be starting to figure you sublight people out. Anyway, Nelson, back to business. Where should I start looking for your missing sprat carriers?
I run my sprat carriers back and forth through the shipping tunnels near the waterfall. Ought to check there first. Good luck. And don't get any ideas about pilfering the drugs for yourself.
Listen, I know you said you'd cut me 5% of the profits, but tell you what, make it 35% plus a sample of the goods, and you've got a deal. Wink.
35%? Are you out of your gourd? If I wasn't recovering from a bout of Margellans, I wouldn't stand for this. But things are what they are, so I'll agree to it. But not 0.5% more. My sprat carriers scurry back and forth through the shipping tunnels. Any trail ought to start there. When you've got the goods, I'll be here.
With that, we can set out towards Sublight's shipping tunnels, which are located on the other side of town. We can unlock a door using the Sublight storage key, and then approach a second door leading down into the tunnels. It's then that we hear a sound coming from the other side. I'm no expert, but those don't sound like sprats to me. Heading inside, we find that the tunnel is overrun with raptidons. With the raptidons dead, we can have a look around and try to piece together what the heck is going on here. We see dead sprats scattered everywhere. That doesn't exactly bode well for Nelson's drug running operation. And even a few dead sublight workers. Were they trapped down here with the raptidons? Or were they just ambushed during a standard run through the shipping tunnel? After looting the corpses, we notice a few bins toward the back of the room, but the items inside are set to owned. For better or for worse, I try to have my character live by a set of moral standards, so I decided to leave this loot behind. Examining one of the Sprat bodies, we find Nelson Mayson's drugs, but sadly it doesn't specify what type of drug it is. Adreno? Immunosol? What exactly are we dealing with here? There are a total of 5 sprats in this room containing Nelson's drugs, which can be a little hard to find if you don't have your objective markers turned on. Nevertheless, once we loot all 5, we can return to Nelson and tell him of our success.
Did you find them? Tell me you found my Sprat carriers. Would hate should anything dire have befallen them.
Well, Nelson, you want the good news or the bad news?
Just tell me straight and don't hold back. I can handle it.
We're given the option to lie here and tell Nelson that the delivery was stolen, thus allowing us to keep the drugs for ourselves, but we'll explore this option later. For now, we can say, the good news is that I recovered the drugs. The bad news is that the raptidons killed your Sprat carriers down in the caves.
Sprats can always be replaced. Excellent. Oh, this is This is only half! You think you can steal from me?
And we can punch him in the eye a second time and say, get a hold of yourself.
Ow! Damn it, that hurt like the blazes. Okay, all right. You didn't take it. But someone did. Search Fallbrook. Either half the Sprats got loose on their own, or there'll be some evidence pointing to the soon-to-be-dead snake who filched my carriers. You want your cut? You get me the rest of my drugs. No matter what it takes.
And so we give Nelson the 5 drugs we managed to retrieve, but we don't get any of the reward yet because apparently half of the drugs are still missing. We'd better take a look around Fallbrook. Just as we pass by Malin's House of Hospitality on our right, sprats scurry about, and inside of a nearby home, we see a man named Bertrand, looking, well, like he's seen better days.
Miss Minnie Malin, get your twitchy whiskers back here! Don't you run out that door! It's a cruel world outside! Close the damn door! You'll let my sprats out!
We close the door, but not before 3 more sprats escape onto the streets. And then turning around... Ah! What is that? What the hell is that thing? Ugh, and this house is an absolute mess. There's feces smeared everywhere. God, the smell is just awful. I need a shower ASAP. What exactly is going on here, Bertrand?
Damn it all! Now look what you've done. It'll take me ages to round him up again. State your purpose, or get out of my face, domicile intruder.
Now, no need to get testy.
There is plenty of need. I've got an animal rescue service to oversee, and it ain't easy. Lots to do. Got a multitude of sprats to spay and feed.
Rescue sprats. Right. You mean the ones that you rescued from Sublight's shipping tunnels?
Day in, day out, they ran their little route, getting picked off along the way. What was I to do, turn a blind eye? Malin's an animal lover. She won't hold my actions against me. Look, I don't care if Nelson sent you or not. You won't be hurting a hair on any of these sprats' heads. I've killed vicious beasts for him. I ain't afraid to take on a human. Back out of this domicile, hands up, or become sprat food, intruder.
There's 3 options here, and the first 2 have the same outcome. We'll go ahead and persuade Bertrand and say, I won't hurt your sprats. The drugs have probably passed through their digestive tracts already.
You want to dig through sprat droppings? Be my guest. Get your drugs, then get lost.
So now, without any gloves or sanitary precautions, mind you, we're forced to dig through these rat droppings for the rest of Nelson's drugs. Alright, let's go ahead and get this over with. Ugh. There's 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm gonna be sick. 4, 5. Alright, I did it. You doing alright over there, Bertrand?
If you would please leave me and my fur babies be. I think you've given them enough anxiety for one day. I'll just look. They're trembling.
Leave you alone? Trust me, you don't have to ask me twice. Now that we've found the remaining drugs, we can return to Nelson.
Got the goods? 'Cause I know you wouldn't be wasting my time otherwise. Wink.
Again, we're given the option to lie and keep the drugs for ourselves. But for now, we'll say, yes, Nelson, I do have the drugs as a matter of fact.
You do? I mean, you do! Of course you do! What did I tell you? Sure-fire delivery system. Works almost every time.
Turns out some crazy guy was keeping them as pets.
2 guesses I know exactly who. And where to find him. If Bertrand ain't already dead, he's about to be. I owe you for bringing this breach in security to my attention. As promised, your cut, plus a little extra to show my gratitude. Now, if there's nothing else you need from me, I must go inventory my goods.
As a reward for recovering Nelson's shipment of drugs, we receive a total of 900 bits. Not bad, but there is a way to make this quest a bit more profitable. This isn't the most moral way to go about things, but here's what you do. When you're down in the tunnel, loot the bins and disregard the fact that the ammo is set to owned. You'll end up with 16 energy cells, 50 light ammo, and 38 heavy ammo. Next, go back to Nelson and say, I found your Sprat carriers, but someone stole the delivery.
Seeing as how that statement is wink-free, I am madder than a mantis swarm, and ready to bite somebody. You want your cut? You get me the rest of my drugs, no matter what it takes.
This will allow you to keep the drugs for yourself, which we now learn are actually adrenatime. The next step is a bit more, shall we say, brutal. Instead of convincing Bertrand to let you dig through the Sprat droppings, we can draw our weapon and attack. If you choose this option, the giant Sprat named Mini Malin will come to Bertrand's defense. Go ahead and loot Mini Malin for a pocket watch, earrings, a vortex mace, and riot control armor. Sadly though, there's nothing to loot on Bertrand's body, but we can scour the room and take an auto-mag pistol next to the toilet, for some reason, some bits, ammo, and a focusitol capsule from some bins near to the bed, a bypass shunt, and a mag pick. After retrieving the drugs from the Sprat droppings, go back to Nelson and again lie to him. We can say, I searched all over town, but I couldn't find the drugs.
They must have hightailed it out of town. Just my luck. I mean, sure, every scheme has its leaks to plug. But at this rate, I'll be ruined. What am I gonna do now?
Oh, gee, I don't know, Nelson. How about pay me?
Great. And now I'm in the red. Some scheme this turned out to be. No offense, but next time, I think I'll go with someone else.
And now, not only do we get to keep 5 more adrenatime, but we also receive a total of 1,200 bits, which is 300 more than we got before. Are we essentially scamming Nelson here and potentially sending him spiraling into debt? Yes, we are. Not exactly in line with my moral character build, but then again, Nelson strikes me as kind of a sleazy man himself, so I don't know. I don't feel that bad. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the story of Nelson Mayson and his Sprat drug runners. As silly as this quest was, though, I do think there's a few things that we need to unpack. First and foremost, I was completely taken aback by Mini Malin. In all of our adventures across Halcyon, I don't ever recall seeing a sprat that big. Raptidons, yes, but sprats, definitely not. That said, the question we have to ask is, how did that happen? How did Mini Malin grow to be several times its average size? The only thing I can think of is the drugs. In Bertrand's house, all 5 of those drugs that we found came from those large piles of sprat droppings, which clearly have had to come from Mini Malin. That means that Mini Malin was carrying 5 drugs, which we know are really adrenotime, inside its system, compared to all the other sprats we found that were just carrying 1. I argue that these 5 adrenotime, all moving through the sprat's body and being digested at once, caused some kind of mutation and forced Mini Malin to grow several times its normal size. If that is indeed the case, then it's very possible that Mini Malin really was mini when Bertrand rescued it from the tunnel, but then rapidly grew and essentially destroyed the house. Of course, the implications of this are enormous. What would happen if some other species consumed an exorbitant amount of adrenotime in the same way that Mini Malin did? Would a Raptidon, for example, grow several times its average size? What about a Mantisaur? We may never know for certain, but at the very least, it's a fun theory to think about. On a more serious note, I feel like this quest is a parody of what, in actuality, is a very real problem in many neighborhoods and cities across the world. I'm talking about the issue of animal abuse and neglect, which unfortunately is something that can happen even when pet owners have the best of intentions. Oftentimes, an individual will adopt more cats or dogs than they can handle, thinking that they are saving them from living life in a cage or being destroyed altogether. And while that may be the case, what they don't realize is that if they don't have the time, money, or energy to support that many animals at once, they're actually making things worse, not better. The living environment often becomes unsanitary, the cost of food becomes too much, and the animals begin to starve. As a result, what was meant to be an act of selflessness and compassion turns into abuse, neglect, and suffering. That seems to be exactly what was happening with Bertrand and all of his sprats. He clearly rescued more than he could handle, and as a result, he and the sprats were living in filth, and things were quickly spiraling out of control. If Bertrand really cared about the well-being of those sprats in the shipping tunnels, then he probably should have found a different solution. Like maybe going to Catherine Malin for support, who he even admitted is an animal lover. But instead, Bertrand thought he could handle it himself, and it looks like the sprats suffered as a result. But what do you think about my theory, ladies and gentlemen? Do you think that overconsumption of adrenotime caused Mini Malin to mutate into a giant sprat? Or do you think that I'm just overthinking it, and adrenotime really has nothing to do with it? Have you ever seen a sprat that big in the game before? Let me know in the comments below. I post new lore videos every single week here on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe and click the bell notification icon so that you don't miss any future episodes. Also be sure to like this video and comment if you haven't already, as it really helps my channel get exposure on this platform. I'd really appreciate it. But anyway, thank you again so much for watching this video, ladies and gentlemen. I truly hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.